EGM Network. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Cottage Conversations with Mary Lou Chambriello. I am Mary Lou Chambriello, and today we have a really serious subject. But before that, I want to tell you that I specialize in selling homes here in Indian River County, single-family homes. I am with RE/MAX Crown Realty, and today our subject is going to be real estate safety. Now, this is going to apply to everyone, whether you're a buyer, a for sale by owner, or you're a listing agent or a selling agent, or you're doing open houses. Real estate safety is truly a very important subject. But before we get very serious, I'm going to introduce my guest to you. Her name is Lauren Bell. Her middle name is Daisy. Doesn't that make you smile? And then, of course, Jennifer Arteaga is here, who is my sidekick, and says she doesn't speak, but we're going to force her to speak today. She's going to have to take on some conversation. So, Lauren, before we get started here, please tell everybody something special about yourself, other than the name Daisy, which is so wonderful.
Oh, well, I am a triathlete for a swim, bike, and run, part of the Indian River Lagoon through Captain Hiram's. Mm-hmm. And
you sell real estate.
I do sell real estate, yes, indeed. Indian River County as well as Brevard County. Mm-hmm. And I deal with buyers and sellers and for sale by owners and rentals and all the above.
You do all the above. And Jennifer, what would you like to say today? Other than you went, let me help you. We know that Jennifer went to the beach this morning. Okay,
I did miss the beach this morning, as a matter of fact. I didn't want to miss the podcast.
Well, Jennifer does the most amazing sunrises at the beach, generally almost every morning. But go ahead. What do you do?
Well, that's what Mary Lou has told me, is I need to start a sunrise page since I'm there basically every day.
They are amazing.
They're different every day. They're beautiful, peaceful. So I love going to the beach. I'm a realtor with RE/MAX Crown Realty, still selling properties and making clients happy.
And you're doing a great job. You've had some pretty good sales. We've actually, everyone, real estate is actually on the move. We're really happy to say that, because I myself personally have had 3 very miserable years. So this year we're actually seeing things happen. But today we're going to talk about something that's serious. It's really and truly serious, and that's safety. Believe it or not, realtors are susceptible to crime, and so are homes. So the first question I'm going to ask is, what practice is it that you have for safety that you never change, that you always do? Is there something that you do, Lauren, every single showing that you go on?
I make sure that I have my handy-dandy pepper spray because, whether you're showing a vacant property or furnished property, you want to have something that's close by that you can protect yourself with.
Very good idea.
Furnished property, you can, grab the closest thing that you see that's heavy and beat them with it, just in case, because, you never know. But definitely my pepper spray is
definitely. And how about you, Jennifer?
I had a can of wasp spray for the longest time in the door of my car, just because I felt like they wouldn't really know what's going on, as far as carrying the wasp spray. I mean, there could be a possible bee's nest or meant to be used on them.
There are often bee's nests, too, by the way. I always let someone know where I'm going. And 99% of the time, I meet them at the office. And, and the other thing that we need to do as agents, honestly, no matter what we're selling, is probably not wear too much expensive jewelry, and but I always let someone know where I'm going, and I try to meet them at the office. But I don't work with that many buyers, so I'm more susceptible, and I hold open houses every weekend. So I definitely am concerned about people coming in, because when you're working with the office and you make an appointment at the office, guess what happens? The office registers that person, and if and we know who's coming. But when you're doing open houses, it's random, so you always have to be alert. And what's the other thing? Is there any other safety advice that you have, Lauren, that you do?
I had an experience I can share with you. It was a couple years ago. I had an open house, and we had an offer the first weekend because it was very busy, and it was just priced correctly, and it was just one of those things you just got lucky with. And the kitchen was an island kitchen, and it was towards the end of the open house, and I was kind of wrapping things up, and I had some snacks and some drinks in the kitchen. And there was a gentleman that walked in, and, he was asking me questions, and he was really excited and interested in the home. And he got a little too close for comfort in the kitchen, and he kind of cornered me a little bit. And, thankfully nothing happened. And, he ended up just going his way, and I gave him my business card, and that was fine. But it just made me realize that I was in a situation that it could have gone, really, really, really south really, really quickly.
Absolutely.
And you have to trust your gut.
That's right. And I felt some vibes, and I just thought, to myself, all the doors were closed. It was the end of the open house.
Well, that's another thing. Always make sure all the doors are open. When I do an open house, I make sure that all my doors are open. And that's also so they can travel through the property with ease. But more importantly, that if I have to get out, I can get out quickly. That's right. Yeah. And how about you, Jennifer?
What do I do for safety?
Well, have you had a bad situation? I know you've had one recently. I thought you took Steve up.
It was when I first started real estate. I was probably in the business about 1.5 years. And I had some scheduled clients that I was showing a home to. And once we were done, I had a pickup truck that pulled up and asked me if he could, if I could show him the property.
And what you need to understand is when we're doing open houses, we're going to stay. Even though it ends at 1 o'clock and somebody comes in and it's 1:05 and we're still there, we're going to show them that property. We're going to stay. So this was that type of a situation where you were staying after the actual.
Well, I was actually leaving. I was done showing the clients that I had scheduled. So it was a little scary, because I didn't know what to expect. And always have your phone charged. That was a big thing because it was a Century lockbox, and my phone was needed some juice.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's very important to have your phone ready. And again, always, if you're for sale by owner, I want to stress this. We know who's coming into a house when we're doing a showing. But if you're a for sale by owner, please make an appointment, just like you were an agency. Make an appointment with the buyer to come and see your house. Let your neighbor know that you're showing the property and what time you're showing it. And then on top of it, ask your neighbor to kind of pop in unexpectedly while you're showing the property just to make sure you're safe. Because if you're working with an agent, their company does have safety measures in place. But if you're selling it yourself, you're really and truly not sure. We qualify people. We know that the agent coming out there, our girls at the front desk check and make sure.
They do a great job, our office.
They do. They make sure that they're registered and active agents, which is the advantage of hiring a realtor. But if you're doing it on your own, please make sure. The other thing, what about valuables and medication?
Oh yeah, absolutely. For a listing, for a seller, just to prepare them for, open houses and just to get ready to go live on the market. Put everything away if it's personal documents or, even I had a couple sellers that had the urns from their past loved ones out. And I said, those are pretty valuable, not only sentimental, but also,
maybe not a selling feature either.
Not a selling feature as well. So, just kind of put those tucked away, in the closet or something like that. And
Uncle Harry's.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He might be with you in spirit, but, I don't know if he's a selling feature. And how about you, Jennifer?
I would say the same that basically Lauren said, medication, personal items, concealed weapons.
Well, we deal with a lot with concealed weapons up here in Indian River County.
I would just make sure that all your personal items are put away.
And if they're important to you, whether it's valuable or not, put them away. And be careful of what you show on the photos too. I won't tell you the name of the person, but I once had a listing, and you would think I would, growing up in the 60s, would know, marijuana paraphernalia, but I do not. And I actually put it on the coffee table and arranged it very nicely. And the seller called me up and said, you might want to take down that photo. So those are things that's a funny story that happened. But, you really and truly want to make sure that you're careful with your digital footprint as well. Realtors are online all the time. I mean, so people know more about us than probably the average person, because we're out there trying to sell. So they've got all of our information. So you want to be careful about your personal footprint. What do you do on your digital footprint? I've watched your website. It's pretty cool. It's pretty
Well,
cute.
you just have to keep it clean and, don't share, your location, necessarily like in full detail, and just to kind of, to kind of keep it very professional, because you are kind of on stage at all times, and, there's always someone watching you.
Absolutely.
I know. And it's usually the seller. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, and how about you, Jennifer?
As far as digital footprint, what do I do?
You're pretty, usually you post after. When I go in there, I notice that you're not saying where I am now, unless it's an open house. Come down to my open house.
Well, I do.
Yeah.
I mean, most people know that they can find me at the beach at 5:30 in the morning.
5:30 in the morning?
Beach.
Are you
usually get there
insane?
around 5:30, 5:45.
5:45.
Oh, my dog's ready to go at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my gosh. 5:30. Well, there's no traffic. That's the good news.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's all the, workers going
we
over
have
the
a lot of
bridge early in the
construction.
morning. So,
A wonderful day to start your day.
oh, I love it. I wouldn't have it any other
She
way.
does it, and she should really live on the beach, okay? Because she's there every day. I just like knowing it's there. I don't have to go to the beach every day, but I like to know that if I want to, it's there.
You can join me anytime.
I'm
Mary
not
Lou.
coming up
And
at
Lauren.
5. That means I got to get up at 4. Not doing that. So the other thing that's kind of important is how you park your car. Now, I've had several incidents with where they were close calls, and one person that actually came to one of my open houses. I was at an open house in a very exclusive community, and it was gated, and this gentleman came in, and I was lucky. It was a very busy open house. I was there alone, and I got a really bad feeling. I mean, just
You
really
feel
bad
it.
feeling. And I was lucky to have a deputy from the sheriff's office come in to check the house out. And I actually asked him to stay. And about 2 weeks later, didn't I see his photo on the website? It just popped up on my on my computer. So really and truly very, very scary.
Oh.
And I had, there's a lot of scams out there too. We had a situation in Delray where I was doing a condo just off the beach, and this seller decided to stage the home on his own. And this is a scam. This was a true scam. So what happened was he had these people stage his home, which they did, but the stager also gave out the key and rented the property.
Oh my gosh.
So people were actually living in this property, and the state, it was a scam. So you've got to be so very careful. The other thing I want to talk about is when you park your car. Did I mention parking your car? When you park your car, a lot of us have a tendency to park in the driveway. Well, there's two reasons why you shouldn't park in the driveway. One is because you want the buyer and the agent to have easy access to the home. You want them to be able to pull in and feel like they own the driveway. And the other is that your car should be parked on the curb, parked in the direction that you're leaving in, so that so God forbid something does happen, you're ready to go. You're not going to be blocked in by someone else. There's other things that we need to talk about. What is one safety rule you never break? You never break. I mean, I said they always know where I am. Always. Somebody always knows where I am. Is there a safety rule you never break?
Just communication is key, just, whether, you're talking to a family member or a friend from the office, or even somebody that's doing an open house in the same neighborhood or close by,
Right.
Just to kind of link up and just really communicate to say, hey, just to
I'm doing
touch
an open
base.
house, send your people to me.
Our
I'll send my
office does a
people to you.
great job at
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Us agents
Yes.
that, we have great relationships, and our office logs them in very well, so we can report back to the sellers as well, and they feel safe.
That's
Exactly.
Right. That's right.
And what should sellers never leave out during an open house or a showing? Are there things that they should, obviously, jewelry, anything of value, but are there anything else that sellers should not leave out? I'll tell you one, a calendar. When people walk into your home, if you're like me, I keep a paper calendar along with a digital calendar. So you do not want that calendar up on the wall so that maybe somebody that doesn't know, that has ill intentions, sees your schedule.
Right.
So it's important to take down that calendar and not let them see what your intentions are. And also when you're selling, it's also probably wise to not be so public about what you're doing and when you're leaving and where you're going, because you don't want to have an opportunity for somebody to know the house is vacant and they can go in. Can you think of anything that I've forgotten here? We need to remember that we work with strangers. They're not our best friend when we meet them. We don't know anything about them.
I think a good point is our animals. If like with allergies and stuff like that, and just, if there's a cat or a dog or a bird or some kind of creature, just to have that, just to have that protected and kind of away from, whoever's going to be coming through the house. You just never know.
And there's other things too. We sell a lot of homes, we list a lot of property, and people personalize a lot. So, when you're going into a bedroom, you don't want to have your child's name up on the wall. And even your dog, I label my dog bowls, okay, and my cat bowls, they're labeled. So
that's a great idea. Thank you.
I'm shocked you haven't done it yet.
Not yet.
But, the only reason I leave them out, if I do leave them out, is because that dog passed away and the other dog's using it. His name is not Bob. So those are things to keep in mind too. You want to make you want to make sure that you're not leaving clues as to, a child lives there and what the child's name is. I mean, it's easy enough for them to find out if they're really interested, if they've got some ill intentions. I'm trying to think about any other. We talked about parking your car, what safety rules, FSBOs. What people shouldn't leave out, and also in listing photos, I shared that mine was a little bit too revealing. Okay, so we want to make sure that our photos are selling the house and not showing off their personal property. Have you ever had an incident like that where you've had marijuana paraphernalia on the table?
Not personally, Mary Lou, but
that's a good thing. Okay.
But there were a couple photos where there was say some food on the counter in the kitchen, and it's just like maybe we shouldn't post that photo, or whether they were having their Wheaties that morning, or a special cookie or whatever.
Well, I'm kind of excited that you're a triathlete because you can run, you can get away. But
I sure can.
When you're my age,
I do a funny run, but
not so much in my age. Okay? So I definitely have to be a little bit more cautious, but I do pay attention and also have a neighbor stop in. I always let the neighbors know I'm doing an open house. And
neighbors have no problem coming by.
Yeah.
Yep.
No,
which is a good thing.
It is a very good thing, and I'm trying to think if there's something else I haven't brought up. Obviously, we have all offices have protocol that they know, and agents know. They're always in communication. But again, my biggest concern I did have this week. I actually have a property for sale, and I hold open houses on Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 1, and if I have to double up, I'll hold a second open house from 2 to 4. So anyway, this week I held an open house from 11 to 1, and on Tuesday at 4 o'clock, people went knocking on my seller's door and said, we're here for the open house. Well, first of all, there were no signs. If you know me, I have signs all over the place when I'm doing an open house. And there's no flying person in the front. I always had that flying man. What is that guy called?
Your open houses are very obvious.
Yeah, they're pretty obvious.
Yes.
Yeah. And so my seller was ready to show them the property, but he was smart enough to call me. I said, you do not let a stranger in your home.
Right.
We want an appointment. We want to know who they are. Just give them my phone number and tell them I'll be more than glad to show them the property. They can come and meet me at the office. And this is an issue with older people. I've had a lot of older people that were my clients that they're just so forgiving. And we live in a great county.
It seems to happen a lot, though.
Yeah.
And I've had sellers that actually get a little irritated, because the sign's in the front yard with the phone number, and then they get knocks on their doors.
And people know that they need to be accompanied. You just don't walk up to a house and let a stranger in. But older people tend to do that, and they tend to be more trusting. I had a couple in Vero Lake Estates, and I'm like, please do not do that. And that's usually the first conversation I have with my sellers.
They're probably so anxious to sell their house.
They're anxious to sell. They think everyone's nice, and most everyone is nice, but that we have to be aware of that one person that is not nice. So that's another issue that I have often with not every stranger is a friend, okay? Right. And we need to
And we can also check on each other, you know, like when we know
Yes.
someone's having an open house, stop by. Not only can we check out the property, but we're checking on our fellow agents as well.
That's right.
So I'll stop in sometimes. to
Yeah, I
certain
stop
open
by when
houses.
if I'm done with my open house, I always stop by. I don't care what agent and what company it is. I'll stop by and say hey and make sure everything's okay. Sometimes you walk in and you're a little nervous because there's nobody there and they're in the backyard or something. But you know, I've never had anything like that happen. The other thing, it just went through my head. Darn, I hate that when that happens.
Well, another thing to point out too is, you know, today with modern technology, a good app to have on your cell phone is the Forewarn
Yes.
app, you know, and that's great to kind of really screen clients or just sellers, you know, in general. You know,
Forewarn's a huge tool.
Yep,
It's a
and
wonderful
that's been a
tool.
wonderful tool, just, you know, just in general.
I agree. The other thing I'm always concerned with is, oh gosh, it went out of my head again. You know, leaving things in plain sight. Your digital footprint on Facebook. Be careful about what you put on Facebook. The letting the neighbors know that you're doing an open house. Parking your car so that they have easy access to the property, and also so that if you have an emergency, you can get out quickly.
That's something I learned with you today. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Didn't even think
Yep.
about
No, I do.
not
If you ever-
parking in the
and, you know,
driveway.
now I know what I was going to talk about. So recently I had a really nice property that was 2 stories, and I knew I was going to have a really busy open house. So Jennifer didn't know it, but she volunteered
Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday to work that open house with me. Boy, because I knew I was going to be busy, and we were.
We had a great time.
We had a great time, but we were busy, and so that's another thing. If the house is large, I generally, and if it's 2-story especially, and if you know you're going to be busy, that particular property was right off a main drag, so we knew that, you know, 2 signs in, it's all it took to direct you to that property. So I had Jennifer come. We had a great time, very good therapy session. Well, whether or not you know it, realtors are great therapists to each other and to other people. But we had a great time, and we did sell that property. We had an agent come
Congratulations.
after showing.
Yes.
Yeah, well, what happened was an agent called up, said, I want to see the property. I'm holding an open house. Can you wait for me? I said, sure. We waited for him, and he wrote a contract.
Very
We'll be
good.
closing on that Thursday. So, yeah, that was kind of
wonderful.
fun. But that was another thing. So sometimes if you're on a busy street, a street where there is a lot of activity, if you're on like Roseland Road or, you know, maybe even 101st Avenue in Vero Lake Estates, you might want to have another agent with you because you're going to have a lot of traffic. And sometimes you bring...
can't serve all those people
You
alone.
can't.
That's right.
You can't. You cannot. And not everybody wants to sign in and give their name. So that's also an interesting thing. Gated communities are fun because in a gated community, they have to call you to get in.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got their phone number locked in your phone. You know what they can afford, and you
security.
can give them a call later on. There are, and also they don't always, sometimes people in gated communities will pretend that they're coming to your open house. And then just so they can get into the community. And that is also,
wow.
yeah, that happens a lot in one of my recent properties. I don't know if you had a listing in there as well. I'm not going to mention the property, but
Okay, maybe.
yeah. You sold before me too, by the way, darn it.
Okay.
At a really good price. Don't think I don't
Hey,
know
we're all
that.
playing nice in the sandbox, Mary Lou.
Well, we play nice in the sandbox, but you can be a little jealous if you're me, okay? I do think that jealousy is a good thing, okay? But no, you sold it in record time. I did 78 freaking open houses, okay?
Sometimes you just get lucky, Mary Lou.
Well,
And you know yourself.
well, yeah, I do know sometimes. You're not lucky enough, though, apparently.
Mary Lou gets PTSD driving by
I
that
do.
community.
That's another story unto itself. So I had this wonderful home that I could just not sell, okay? I did 78 open houses. So for those of you paying attention, that's 311 days that this house was on the market. It had 8 contracts. The 8th contract took, okay? But I did 78 open houses. I was in there so often, they still think I live in there because I just sold in there again. People thought I was their neighbors. When did you move in? That's how often I was in there. But that's also an issue because when you're in a gated community, people they'll call and say I'm on my way to your open house, and then what I do is I call them back and say, did you go to the wrong house? I'm still here waiting for you.
Oh, that's
because
smart, too.
people need to understand that you are paying attention, and you're giving out a gate code.
That's right.
Which is annoying. They should really give out all communities should have a gate code just for realtors. Really, that would be just one number so that they know that it was a real estate person. They can go back and track it on their cell phone or whatever, who they called. So anything else you can think of that I've forgotten? There's got to be
think
more.
of anything, Laura?
People leave in plain sight.
I think you covered pretty much all the
We document
angles.
showings. We document if you're listing with any real estate company, not just ours, but I think ours is quite amazing. Our company, I believe, is quite amazing. They all document who's coming in. They all know the agent that's coming in. They may not know the buyer that they're bringing in, but they know the agent that's coming to the property. So that's super duper important. How much time do I have, Jesse?
We gotta close up.
Okay, before we close up, excuse me, please. I want to do a shout, excuse me. I want to do a shout out to Kim Salmon. Recently, I worked a very difficult transaction, and realtors, believe it or not, whether we work for the same company or not, we all work together. We all help each other. Well, on this particular transaction, I really wasn't familiar with the community, and Kim Salmon from our office went way out of her way to make sure that she helped me earn a paycheck. And I want to thank you personally, Kim, for your
wonderful.
dedication and for your help. And she is a RE/MAX Crown agent. So if you've ever used Kim, she's amazing. And like these ladies here, we're all amazing. We're all here to help you and serve you. And so thank you so much for tuning in. Please be safe. Safety is number one. Even though we live in this wonderful county, you still need to be on your toes when it comes to safety. Ciao for now. Have the best day ever.